Windshield wiper your shins left and right, creating soft rotation in the lumbar spine beneath the waist. And as you're ready, let your knees fall to one side, maybe rolling onto your side. You could rest here for one or more breaths, deciding if you're ready for more movement. When you're ready, I invite you to find your way to hands and knees or tabletop pose. Practicing self-care, I invite you to bring a blanket or any other form of cushion or support underneath your knees, maybe a towel. And as you find your tabletop, you may be intentional, placing your knees under your hips, and your handprints under your shoulders, and finding a neutral spine. If you're not sure what a neutral spine feels like, I've been there. If you have a yoga block or a book nearby or available, you may place it on your back, maybe kind of in the midpoint where you notice it bend. And this just gives a little bit of tactile feedback so you can get a little sensation, a little idea of where neutral is for your spine. Also, a mirror can be helpful. This is some of why it's useful to go to a studio environment sometimes. So don't overthink it. From your tabletop position, as you're ready to practice spinal flexion, I'll invite you to take a big breath in, imagining your belly button becomes heavy as you press the mat away with both hands. Lift your sternum, tuck your chin slightly to lengthen the back of your neck, and think about lifting the back of your head. Maybe look at the mat just in front of your hands or that short edge on one end of your yoga mat. From here, you may take a few more breaths as I give another pointer or two. Options to tuck the toes as mine are, or untuck them, driving the tops of your feet into the mat. Also, glue all of your knuckles down and your fingers too, pressing your whole handprints into the mat, and scrub them towards your knees without moving them. Notice that this draws your sternum through space as though to guide your heart forward between your elbows. Notice that that increases the arch in your low back, and pay attention to whether or not that feels helpful. Decide if you're here for a more passive movement or want to create that activation today. So this is cow pose. From here, we'll move to cat. As you complete a big inhale and are ready, an exhale might tuck your tail. As you lift your spine, round it towards the sky, press into both handprints. Imagine lifting your spine between your shoulder blades and tuck your chin to lengthen your neck. Maybe look at your knees or your lap. This is cat pose. Another inhale might ripple from hips to crown. Think about that ocean wave as it takes shape in your spine and maybe still makes that sound in the back of your throat as you continue to move with your breath. This might be slow or fast, but I've heard it said that if you can do it slowly, you can do it quickly, but not the other way around. So do with that what you will as you explore your cat-cow today. From here, I'll invite you to find child's pose, bringing the hips back towards the heels and resting for a breath or more. Notice the weight of your hips towards your heels on the exhale and the expansion of your rib cage on the inhale. As you're ready, I'll invite you to join me again in tabletop pose. From here, grow heavy in 3 of your grounded points to let one knee hover above the floor. And choose to lift it out to the side, maybe to hip height, maybe not. And then lower it like a swinging pendulum, maybe finding your breath as you choose to move 3 or 5 times this way. Activating the external rotators around the hip, pressing into both hands on the grounded knee. You might choose to make big circles with your knee when you're complete with that first warm-up. Maybe the leg extends, maybe not. It's up to you. You can let this be organic. You might change the direction of your circles, clockwise to counterclockwise. Before finding tabletop again. Now you may choose to stay exactly where you are. I'll turn around to make space since I'm practicing next to a wall today. And we'll do the same thing on the other side as we ground in 3 points of our tabletop and let one knee hover before rotating out to the side, maybe 3 to 5 times. Can you let this be slow and controlled, both on the lift and on the lower? Let yours look different from mine. And when you're ready, choose to make big circles with your knee, whether you extend the heel long at any point in the circle or not. You might change the direction of your circles. And find your tabletop when you're ready. All right, once again, I'm going to change sides just to kind of keep things mixed up. This time, we'll step the whole leg straight out to the side, bringing the footprint to the floor as though placed on railroad tracks that have become very wide, with the other one being under the kneeling knee. This is one variation of gate pose. You can stay right here as you notice the length of the inseam of your extended leg. Tune into your ujjayi breath, noticing that sound, almost like listening to a seashell in the back of your throat. After a couple of breaths here, you may choose to stay or come up to tall kneeling on your kneeling knee. And give the wrists a break if you join me at this level. From here, you have the option to let one hand drape over this extended leg as the other one reaches high overhead, making a long line from the grounded knee to the lifted fingertips. And then we'll reverse that, bringing the lifted hand towards the floor as the other reaches up overhead. So getting long from the hip through the rib cage and armpit as we reach, but still grounded through that extended foot. Check back in and choose to breathe and move at a pace that serves you. When you're ready, I'll find my way with you to tabletop as we bring the extended foot back. Make any adjustments needed as you prepare to change sides again. And as we did before, we'll step the foot straight out from the hip and place it on an imaginary railroad track. Choose to stay for 2 or more breaths. Let the inseam be long, with gravity assisting on the inside pull of that hip towards the floor. Imagine there's an anchor or a weight there. Choose to stay here and breathe. You have the option to join me in tall kneeling on that grounded knee. So we let one arm drape over the extended leg and the other reach up overhead. Big breath in here, expanding through the rib cage before lowering the lifted hand and reaching up with the other, growing long through the waist on the other side. Make this work in your space for your body. Keep pressing into your grounded knee and footprint as you reach up with either or both. Long arms. And when you feel complete here, I invite you to join me finding your way to tabletop, making any adjustments needed to reset. If you have blocks or books, I invite you to find them and bring them to make a little stack between your ankles for you to sit upon. Another option could be to get a pillow or just see how it feels to sit in a kneeling position on your heels today. But again, pay attention to any feedback from your body, not looking to create any pain. So as you find your way to a supported seat of any kind, maybe kneeling here, might take just a moment to notice the sense of support under your hips, whether it's your heels or blocks or books. Can you make that sound with your breath that brings your awareness back to it as you listen, as it flows in and out? We'll practice a half camel pose variation here. So the intended benefit is a heart opening. So the front body will work at lifting the sternum towards the sky and peeling the shoulders open as we reach down and back with the fingertips. So from your supported kneeling seat, you might find a neutral place with your pelvis, maybe rocking forward and back and finding kind of a neutral place in the middle. Zipping up that jacket of muscles around your spine, that corset of strength. You may draw a breath in, letting your rib cage expand as you think tall thoughts. From here, maybe your fingertips droop towards the mat. Maybe they dust it, maybe they grip it firmly. These are all options. Maybe you keep lacing up your shoulder blades behind you, drawing your scapula together on your back. Draw the backs of your hands back in space, maybe gripping the mat with your fingertips, any amount. Continue zipping up those core muscles as you, instead of reaching back, lift with your sternum. So we're not trying to make a big back bend here. We're just trying to open the heart a little bit, literally the front of the rib cage. So find your breath, find your strength, and let this be a really small movement if that's what you need today. And you might continue to look forward with your nose. We don't need to tip the head back here. And come out whenever you're ready. There's no need to stay here if it becomes intense or if you start to feel overextended. We'll work from the ground up again. You ground your hips in their support, whether that's your heels or the blocks. Draw your belly button towards your spine. Maybe let your fingertips go from the mat if they were connected there. Slowly grow a little taller as you lift your crown and allow your shoulders to neutralize, maybe resting your hands on your lap. Good work. All right, from here, an option to join me in a variation of a squat. To prepare for this squat, I'll invite you to find your blanket or towel, should you have one. Another spare yoga mat or even an area rug would work well if you'd like to use that. You can roll it up like I'm doing here with this blanket to make kind of a long, skinny Tootsie Roll. Okay, and I'll turn mine sideways for your visibility. You place it where it makes sense, maybe on your grippy mat, so you have support under your toes with that grippy texture. I like to step in front of it and lift one heel at a time up onto the roll. You might adjust the placement until you find it kind of stays rolled up while you step on it. Usually find one way works better than the other. All right. And this is good work. You can stay right here, activate the glute muscles behind you as you drive your heels and the balls of your feet into the mat. And if you're familiar with wearing high heels, it might feel a little bit like that. Or it might feel new, kind of activating different muscles than maybe you're used to. Notice your knees as you soften them and choose to bend them in the same direction as your toes. For me, that means some external rotation of the thigh muscles. All right, from here, option to bend the knees a little more, sitting into the strength of the quads and bending at the hips, lowering the hips toward the heels, towards that blanket any amount. This is where it could be nice to have that wall nearby so that you have some sense of support. You could even sit back into the wall, letting it assist you on the way down. or you could just know that it's there if you're practicing some balance today. And you can stop at any time. All right. So you have the option to keep squatting slowly. Maybe your elbows come to the tops or the insides of your thighs and knees. Maybe you bring hands together in center. Maybe you keep lowering your hips towards the floor, or find a seat with any platform you may choose to create for yourself again. Wherever you end up, you may stay here or make adjustments that serve you. From here, you have the option to reach with one hand for the opposite ankle. The other hand can come to the inside of that knee on the same side. And we're not going to push it away. We're not going to leverage against it. We're not wrenching it out, but we're using it for a little bit of resistance. And we'll use that lower hand connected to the ankle to guide the shoulder down with a little strength of that elbow and bicep. And maybe as we press into the strength and resistance of this other knee, we lift the shoulder on the same side. So we're getting a little bit of side bend, a little bit of an opening on the front chest, on the side waist. Big breath in here. Maybe you turn your face to look at the sky. And when you're ready, you can find softness, maybe releasing some of that strength to come to center. And reaching the hand for the opposite ankle on the other side, finding connection with the knee with the other hand. And using the strength of the lower arm to guide the shoulder towards the floor any amount. And using the same connection on the top hand to guide the other shoulder towards the ceiling any amount. Big breath in, noticing the expansion in your side rib cage. And exhale, notice how you can press the air out in this folded position. And a big breath in might help you unwind as you find your way to center.